Good morning. I am Dr. Dariel D.T. Henry. I'm the director of the TRIO program, TRIO department, and the interim director of the Multicultural Student Center at Bristol Community College. It is an honor to welcome you to the 23rd annual Martin Luther King Jr. Community Breakfast and Day of Service. A round of applause for the Anthony Steele Band. They sound so beautiful, don't you agree? Please continue to enjoy your breakfast while we begin our program. Following breakfast, we invite you to visit today's fun and engaging workshops and activities located right outside in the lobby. I would now like to welcome Dr. Laura L. Douglas, President of Bristol Community College, to provide opening remarks.
Well, good morning, and thank you, DT. Isn't it great to be back together in person to celebrate Dr. King's legacy and work? It's been 3 years since we gathered here in person. It's great to see you all. And I'd first like to start off by welcoming our Board of Trustee members, our Chair of the Board, Joan Medeiros, Pamela Galvin, Esquire, and also I'd like to welcome our elected officials, Representative Christopher Markey, our Mayor of the wonderful city of Fall River, Paul Coogan, Sam Sutter, our former district attorney and former mayor, and I'd also like to welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Rachel Jessica Daniel, the Reverend Daryl Malden of Bethel AME Church in Fall River, and Rabbi Raphael Cantor of Tifereth Israel Congregation in New Bedford. Thank you for joining us and making this your day. We in higher education are rooted in the vision and values of Dr. King's life's work. In 1957 in Montgomery, Alabama, Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" We honor his legacy today with a National Day of Service. Core to our mission and values, Bristol serves our community by recognizing that in order for our students to achieve their educational goals, we must prioritize basic needs, food security, and the impact of COVID-19 on our community. Bristol's decision to make equity one of the top priorities of our college could not have come at a more important time. Statistically, most often, low-income students and students of color have not received the resources and institutional support that they need to succeed. The rise in costs for housing, food, gasoline, utilities, and childcare. We are constantly finding ways to serve our community to meet these needs. Bristol's Basic Needs Center was awarded $180,000 from the American Rescue Plan Act. And over 64% of Bristol students have experienced food insecurity, housing insecurity, and/or homelessness. Since 2012, Bristol has partnered with the Greater Food Bank of Boston to provide monthly groceries to our community members. We serve upwards of 500 families in the Bristol County area every month. And in fiscal year 2022, the total amount of individuals impacted by the market was 8,522. Since its inception in 2018, the Bristol Care Fund has assisted nearly 400 students with emergency funding totaling nearly $200,000. And many students here at Bristol Community College don't have access to reliable transportation to and from our campuses, and we provide emergency bus passes to those in need. Through our Career Services Department and Experiential Education Center, we assist with jobs and employment through experiential education and internship opportunities. Our Multicultural Student Center provides opportunities for students and other college community members to come together and promote greater awareness, appreciation, and understanding of Bristol's very diverse community. Our Women's Center provides ongoing assistance, and our Parenting Advancement Pathways program empowers student parents to help balance their education with childcare, work, and just life in general. Through a generous donation, we are investing more than ever in our student mental health services. And our Veterans Center, which provides support to our U.S. military veterans, active duty service members, reservists, National Guardsmen, and their family members, just providing excellent support so that they can stay in school and get those benefits that they deserve. The college is looking at every operation, from policies and procedures to inclusive messaging, recruitment, and hiring practices. Recently, Connect, a public higher education consortium in southeastern Massachusetts, which includes Bristol Community College, was awarded $150,000 from the Massachusetts Department of Higher Education to increase employees' core equity competencies and knowledge about racial equity, social justice, and structures that are proven to impact student success. By empowering our faculty and staff and our community members, we will elevate the work of the college and the people in our region. As you hear from our essay winner today, Nicole Ferreira, it is more important than ever that we provide a voice for those who are not being heard. Let's stand together to give voice to those in need by providing services that enable everyone in our communities to excel in their educational and career goals. Dr. King's legacy helps all of us make service to our community part of our lives, today and every day, all year long. Thank you for your support and for joining us today. And I see that Representative Carol Fiola has just joined us. If you'd like to wave, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Douglas. As chair of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Community Breakfast, I would now like to take a moment to recognize my fellow MLK Breakfast Committee members who are here with us today. Please stand when I call your name. Joyce Brennan, Tim Hathaway, Philomena Ponte, Dr. Robert Resendez, Melissa Rogers, who's already standing, Kevin Spurlett, and Dr. Ronald Weisenberger. Thank you all for your tremendous work on this program. To honor Dr. King's historic march on Washington in August 1963, the Board of Trustees at Bristol Community College has created an essay competition. The annual competition invites Bristol students to write about the meaning of Dr. King's dream and ideals. A faculty and staff committee took on the challenging task of choosing the winner's entries. I would like to invite this year's first, second, and third place winners to the stage. They'll be taking a photo with me, and then our winner will read her essay. In third place, we have Fajana Akhtar, who is out in the front at our table doing check-in right now. So if someone can have her come on in so she can take her photo. Oh, here she is, walking up. Come on up. In second place, we have Sharon Morales, who I believe could not be with us today. And in first place, we have Nicole Ferreira. Dr. Douglas is going to join us for the photos. And now Nicole will remain on stage and share her winning essay with us. Y'all give it up for Nicole.
August 28th, 1963, over 59 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke the words, "I have a dream." When King delivered his speech in the Capitol, African American people were facing segregation and discrimination across our country. Everything from restrooms to water fountains to public transportation was segregated. In 2022, it's something that is difficult to wrap our minds around. However, there is still much to do to live up to Dr. King's dream. Though segregation is a thing of the past, racial minorities, the LGBTQ+ community, and people struggling in lower income brackets are still facing discrimination and inequalities every single day. While the discrimination is not as overt as it was before the Civil Rights Act, we have much work to do to help individuals in our communities. Building on Dr. King's speech, serving our community means serving everyone in that community, regardless of race, origin, sexuality, age, or income level. We need to band together based on our similarities while being able to appreciate our many differences. Dr. King's dream needs every person on this planet in order to bring his dream to fruition. We have made leaps and bounds from the 1960s, but there is inequality and injustice happening today. I am coming from a place of privilege as a middle-class Caucasian woman. I recognize and understand that. However, I would be doing a great disservice to not use my privilege to bring light to social inequalities that affect our communities. The rise of social media sites have brought light to minorities being given harsher prison sentences and worse, their lives being ended by law enforcement. On TikTok, we can watch the terrible injustices for women in Iran. I can watch a Facebook Live where people are mocked and attacked based on their gender identity and who they love. There are groups like the KKK and the Westboro Baptist Church that spread hate to anyone who doesn't look or feel like they do. Reading and watching these events unfold may have us feeling like we should give up hope. How are we supposed to make a difference? As one person, change seems insurmountable. However, if we band together, change is more than possible, it is inevitable. I believe, as Dr. King did, that we are able to have a society where everyone is equal, loved, and valued. To make a change, we need to follow in the footsteps of Martin Luther King and use our voices the same way he proclaimed. We need to speak up for others when we see injustices, write to political figures and demand change, and use our voices to build others up instead of tearing them down. We need to join hands and use our individual strengths and our voices for people who are not being heard. In order to thrive as a society, we need a community where everyone is equal, valued, and respected. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And we just want to acknowledge Thomas Quinn, District Attorney. You are in the building. We noticed you walked in. We just want to say hello to you. Thank you for joining us today. And I will have a musical selection from the Anthony Steele Band.
Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Steele Band.
Thank you so much. Y'all give it up for the band one more time. Now it is my privilege to introduce to you our keynote speaker for this morning. Dr. Rachel Jessica Daniel is co-editor of the recently released book, It Is Our Movement Now, Black Women's Politics and the 1977 National Women's Conference. She is the founding director of the Center for Employee Enrichment and Development at Massasoit Community College, where she is a professor of English. Dr. Rachel Jessica Daniels' innovative research and teachings focus on African American women's literature and Black popular culture. She is a thought leader and institutional influencer who creates professional development opportunities that focus on the mindful integration of equitable practices. She received a PhD in English with a concentration in American Studies and a graduate certificate in Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies from the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. She is my colleague, my sister, she's my friend. She is amazing. Y'all please welcome Dr. Rachel Jessica Daniels.
Okay. It is such an honor to be here, and I want to start by thanking the leadership of Bristol Community College for inviting me, but more importantly, for creating a day where we have an opportunity to reflect on the life and the legacy of the King family. I am so thankful and excited to be here, and I'm moving out so you can see my shoes, which I'm still breaking in. Let's start with a round of applause for you all for making it out here in the hail to do this day of service. It is so dope. Okay. So the title of this presentation is Coretta Scott King, The Courage to Lead. And one of the reasons why I'm focusing specifically on Coretta Scott King is because she's the reason why we're here. Like, Dr. Martin Luther King is amazing and he's wonderful, but I contend in my research that we would not know who Dr. King was if it wasn't for Coretta Scott King and her ability to advance his legacy after he was brutally killed. Today, I'm going to talk about three things very briefly. What is the dream? Who is Coretta Scott King and what did her activism look like? And then we'll end by thinking about what we can do individually and collectively to advance a dream of justice and equity. So I'm an English professor by trade. I couldn't help but go back to the text itself. If there are English people in the room, you know why all this text is up here. And I'm not gonna read this. This is the most popular part of the dream speech. And I could see that it's popular because it's so vivid in the descriptions, right? I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. That's beautiful, right? And I think it was made more powerful by the fact that this section wasn't even supposed to be in the speech. Mahalia Jackson called out, "Tell them about the dream, Martin." The dream was a collective idea that he articulated beautifully, and we have it with us now. But before we got to the dream section of the speech, this is what he was saying. This is the radical part of his message that has been kind of lost. He says, "We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality." Have we achieved that dream yet? No. We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We've kind of achieved that, but there are stretches of this country that I would be very scared to stay in. We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one. Also, iffy. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their adulthood and robbed of their dignity by signs stating for whites only. This statement we don't see it, but it is embedded in the policies and the practices of certain spaces across this country even now. We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and the Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote. So we have not yet achieved the specific dream that Dr. King was speaking about at this time. The dream is about eradicating all forms of racial injustice, but in particular, police brutality, segregation, unequal housing, and unfair voting practices. So while this is a beautiful speech, and I'm so excited that we get to celebrate it, this was a kind of radical. 2 days after the speech was given, the head of the FBI stated that this kind of cemented Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as the most, the biggest threat in the US. And this speech was kind of lost to history a couple of years later. Though celebrated now, the speech had nearly vanished from view by the time of King's assassination in 1968. And people forget that in a 1967 poll, King was considered one of the most hated men in the United States. And what this quote doesn't share, a third of people in this country believe that King brought his death upon himself. So when companies are out there quoting, like we've made it, I just want you to remember the specifics of that moment in time and where we are now and how much farther we still have to go. But Coretta Scott King was still alive, and she understood how radical King was. It was a dream that they shared, and she worked to make sure that his ideas, his philosophies were not lost to history. Most people think, oh, Coretta Scott King, just a wife, she's silent, yada, yada, yada. No, she was an activist from the time she was in college. So one of the reasons why I start here is because it's very easy when you see the wives of powerful men to just believe, they were silent, they didn't do much. But I wanted to demonstrate that Coretta Scott King was not someone who was just advancing Dr. King's dream. She had a dream of her own that she was working on long before she met King. And they impacted another, and she moved it forward after he was killed. In college, she was a student teacher, and because of a racist policy, she was forced to travel 9 miles out of her college district just to teach. And she couldn't change that policy, but she wrote to her president. And in this statement, she says, "I was rejected because I happened to be the wrong color." And she moves on to say, "Do you then wonder why America, as a leader among nations in the world, cannot command more respect among the common people who make up the majority of citizens of the world?" To be a college student and to not only call out her college and where she was teaching, but to think about it in a global context demonstrates to me her intelligence, her activism, and the fact that it was global. It was never just about this country. She did that. by the time she meets Martin Luther King and he convinces her to be with him, she sees a difference in the way that they were both thinking about their activism. It was slight. She thought of things on a global scale. She was a pacifist, a member of the Progressive Party during college. And Martin Luther King, rightfully so, was more focused on racial injustice within this country. I love what the student speaker said. Your essay was awesome, by the way. Congratulations, Nicole. When she says, it will take all of us to make that change. That part of the King dream, that's Coretta. She was the one who had this global vision and perspective that expanded after King was killed. In marriage, what does Coretta Scott King do? She couldn't continue singing as she wanted to. She sang to raise money for the SCLC, which was wonderful. So she used whatever gifts she had at the time. At home, raising 4 kids, she decides to collect the speeches, the papers. And because we're at Bristol Community College, I know that there are so many brilliant people who work here. You understand the importance of documenting history. Even as President Douglas mentioned, that beautiful speech you gave was all about all the good work Bristol is doing, right? That is a form of activism. Documenting the work that you are doing is so important. And this is something that was a part of her calling during this time. Those papers became the foundation of the King Center. So this is a short snapshot of the rest of the things she did. As a private citizen, raised $20 million for the King Center. Man, I wish I had that power, because the community college system in Massachusetts would be so much stronger if I could. She also lobbied for Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday to be a federal holiday. Dr. King was killed, but we're here because she worked so hard. I mean, she got Stevie Wonder to make the birthday song to make sure that this happened. So while we're here to celebrate Dr. King, I love him. I love his speeches. I teach his speeches. Beyond Vietnam is actually my favorite of his speeches, so you should read it. We're here because she understood how to market that legacy, to cement it, to make sure that we would contend with the brilliance that they shared. She was also a labor rights activist, and for a woman in the Black church, very ahead of her time, supporting LGBTQIA rights towards the end of her life. So what are the lessons in leadership from Coretta Scott King? Because we're here, it's a day of service, it's easy to be like, those are really great people, and I'm not great, right? I feel that way. I don't feel like great constantly. But I do think, what can I do to move towards justice? What is my responsibility? What is my calling? So the lesson I learned from her, it's important to be clear in your vision, your purpose, your values. If you believe equity is important, and whatever branch of that you really support, be clear in what you believe that equal world will look like. That's a part of the King's speech that people still love because it's so vivid. So create a vision in your mind that's super clear. What will it look like when, right? Then identify what are the gifts, the talents, and the resources that you have. You might be the best dancer in your family, so dance for justice. If you are the best writer, then write for justice. If you're the best singer, then sing for justice. If you are the best cook and you know how to make a mean fried chicken sandwich, first make me one and then make them for other people who are marching towards justice. And that is how you serve. And then finally, make sure you're collaborating with others. No one could get there by themselves, right? Coretta Scott King had to optimize every single resource she had in the political sphere, in the private sphere, to make sure that she achieved her goals. And she wasn't shy about asking for help along the way. So even if you're leading, you can still pull up with somebody or share a vision and move together towards it, because you're not going to get very far by yourself. Believe me, I've tried, and I've nearly killed myself trying. And also, again, this goes back to documenting your efforts. When you write your own story or record your own story, you get to control the narrative. You get to say, this is something that I did, or this is something that I did with others. And you know how powerful that is? It leaves behind a blueprint for the next generation to build upon and to grow from and to learn from. When you document what you do, it becomes a part of your family and your community's generational wealth. When we talk about generational wealth, we think of it as money and buildings, but it is also the knowledge and the wisdom. And so when you do that, no matter what age you are, you write down, this is what I believe justice looks like. This is what I did for justice. You write that down, you write down your actions, you leave it behind, because somebody's going to learn from that. So with that, I thank you. It's wonderful being here, and I hope that we'll all move towards justice together.
Thank you so much, Dr. Daniel. That was truly moving. Y'all give her another round of applause. At this time, I'd like to ask Reverend Malden and Rabbi Raphael to come to the stage. Reverend Darrell Malden is from Bethel AME Church of Fall River, and Rabbi Raphael Cantier is from the Tefereth Israel Congregation in New Bedford. They're going to say a few words before we get into our next selection. Who wants to say first? Somebody's going to go first.
You insist. I'll be short, so don't get too comfortable over there. So a reflection, and I want to share with you a prayer that I thought was particularly powerful, but I've adapted it somewhat. As it is Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Day, it should be a day of truth-telling. So I'm sharing this adaptation of a prayer that captures the hard truths in few words by the Reverend Dr. Ann Rice Jones. Save us, O God, from ourselves, from racism often cloaked in pious words, from white supremacy hidden in calls for civility, from microaggressions thinly veiled in arrogance, from apologies when they don't give way to action, from forgiveness without facing the truth, from reconciliation without reparation. Deliver us, O God, from expecting people of color to continue to bear this emotional work which is not theirs to do. Grateful for the long arc that bends toward justice, we pray. Grant us wisdom and give us courage for facing these days and the days when this work culminates in a true accounting of the past. So may it be. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Rabbi. This day, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, means so many things to me. I'm a product of the South. I was born in Pensacola, Florida, right under Alabama, but both sides of my family are from Alabama. And we would hear stories about racism and segregation and Jim Crow and what have you. And so at a very young age, Rabbi, I moved up to Boston and attended Newton Public School. So I was immersed in the Jewish culture from the South to the North. Yeah, but the diversion and the inclusion. And at 13, I went to my friend's bar mitzvah. He's still my friend after all these years. But it just made me think of the experiences that I had to be around a diverse group of people and to appreciate differences and togetherness. And just recently, some of us may have been watching and some of us just heard about Damar Hamlin suffered cardiac arrest on a football field. Life was saved twice. But the outpouring of love from the whole nation, black and white and old and young and male and female, just concern and love for him and his family. Can we keep it going? Can we keep it going? And I'd just like to salute the band for wonderful music. I haven't always been a reverend, amen. So peace to you, and we're gonna have a service at Bethel AME Church here in Fall River, 146 Hanover Street. You're welcome at 11 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you both for those remarks. We Shall Overcome is considered the anthem of the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s. It offered courage, comfort, and hope as protesters confronted prejudice and hate in the battle for equal rights for African Americans. It is also our tradition to join together in singing it at the end of our program. The lyrics can be found on the keepsake bookmark at every table, so we hope that you join us in singing along, and it'll be led by our reverend, our rabbi, and the band.
The band.
And they'll be starting in 2 seconds. If you would stand with us and join with us, that'd be great.
Are you ready? We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday.
one last round of applause. Thank you, Reverend Malden, Rabbi Raphael. Y'all give it up again for the Anthony Steele Band. And once again, we want to thank our dynamic speaker, Dr. Rachel Jessica Daniels. Y'all give it up for her. As I mentioned earlier, she is the co-editor of a book. She has 4 copies with her today. She is willing to sign those for those that may want a copy of her book. And we also want to give a round of applause to our amazing essay winners. As we close our service, we want to give you a final reminder to please visit today's day of service workshops and activities located right outside in the lobby. You did not have to sign up prior to today's breakfast to be able to attend. More information about today's workshops can be found by scanning the QR code on the keepsake bookmark located at each table. We want to thank each and every one of you for being with us today. It has been incredible having you with us. We love joining you as our community. We love fellowshipping with you. Thank you to all the senior leadership that is with us, all of the community members and community leaders that came here today. We thank you so much. Please enjoy the workshops. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Please mingle. I think we also have some take-home boxes for some food. If you could all take home some food and share it with your families in the community. And the Anthony Steele Band will take us out with a selection. Thank y'all so much.
Come on, everybody.